No, I didn't say I was gonna get it fixed that day. I said I had to get it fixed, but my guy's got the part. Well, actually, my grandson has got my new dash that's all cracked up in this one, and he's got the tail light. So now he's got to find a part. Friday, I'm supposed to go down there and he's gonna fix it for me. But to have a new dash.
Yeah, I saw that.
New dash cover anyway.
Interesting.
The crusher and everything.
Yeah.
You should take a can of red spray paint and paint that bulb red.
I had about 3 phone calls this week. When are the load limits coming off? Wednesday.
Already.
Well, the county took theirs off, didn't they?
No, they come off.
Well, they're tomorrow too, because our neighbor works for Excel and she said they were coming off on Monday.
That's the email I got from the county says it coming
Okay.
off. Yeah, Wednesday. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Got 'em right on it. Yeah, I got three.
Yeah. Oh.
You know, be interested in a finish mower for a lawn? Goes on a 3-point.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I call this meeting to order, this regular town board meeting in town of Worcester to order. First item, pledge of allegiance.
You did it.
Do it
You
again.
did it last meeting.
Now we can do it again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Yep.
Yes.
Here.
Okay, the March minutes. I spot a mistake in there. On the Hills Road Bridge, the contractor states that they are want to start work on August 17th, not the 27th.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular town board meeting minutes with the corrections as discussed.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Clerk treasurer report.
Okay, financial report, started off the month of March with $373,688.03. Total non-tax income was $46,186.15. Transferred $77,000 to cover checks written, payroll taxes, and IRA. Total end cash balances total $326,717.53.
Any questions, guys? Okay, motion to approve?
Don't have to.
All right, okay, oh, that's right, don't have to. Okay, chair report, Hills Road Bridge, nothing new to report there.
Did they have was there a general time frame of how long they thought that was gonna take? I know in the last minutes it says supposed to be done in 26, but
I do not have
Okay.
any information on that. And
Okay.
it sounds to me like if they're starting it then, they're probably committing to get it done before fall.
sure.
Cranberry Lake, Little Chicago Road, they had the contractor bid opening this afternoon at 2:00. We had originally estimated and budgeted $2.087 million for the project. Of that was approximately $200,000 for engineering and approximately $1.9 million for construction. The engineer's estimate came in for construction about 1.7 million, 200,000 under that. And I didn't say anything because it's bad luck to spread good news too soon. So the bids came in today. An engineering estimate was approximately 1.7 million. The high bid was 1.6 million, and the low bid was $1.3 million. So bottom line is now 87.7% of this cost is going to be paid for by the grant. So we are saving, the town saving will be 12.3% of roughly $600,000. Comes to, we're going to come out ahead to the tune of about $70,000. That's money we will have available to spend on roads this year.
As long as there's not cost overruns on
Right.
something else.
Yeah, now, and these, we do not have, this bid is not officially accepted yet. The engineer is evaluating it. Checking it over, but the lowest bid was 1.29 million. The second lowest bid is 1.33 million. One way or the other, it's going to come in at, the town's going to come out ahead of budget to the tune of about $70,000 this year. Now, these numbers are not absolutely exact. The way this works is they estimate how much money are they going to need to fix soft spots in the road, dig out stuff, put in gravel, pack it down, and they have a per yard cost on that. And the contractor bids on per yard cost. So that could come in under, that could come in over. And the total they expect to come in, he's got enough contingencies in there that he expects the total to come in. He hopes the total will come in slightly under that. There's no guarantee of that. But we do, based on his experience, we do expect that the total will come in very, very close to this. There's a bid allowance of $20,000 for railroad crossing. The railroad requires you to have a guard out there at, I think, $2,500 a day, or maybe $2,600. And if you're working there for a week, they want you to have the guard out there every day for a week. And for a railroad crossing, it gets about one train a week. And the way that works in the real world is if somebody at the railroad is nice, they'll tell you what day the train will go through, and that's the day you have the guard out there. But the railroad doesn't have to play nice. They can tell you that you have to have the guard out there every single day they're working next to the railroad crossing. And that's why that's listed as a $20,000 contingency. In fact, all 6 bids list a $20,000 contingency for the railroad crossing guarding allowance.
So what do you mean by a guard? Does the railroad furnish the guard, or do we furnish the guard?
The railroad furnishes the guard. We're not good enough to guard the railroad crossing. That's their rules. We have to play by their rules.
So they're going to send the guy out there every day.
Well, when we're working by the railroad.
Right.
So it depends how nice they play. In the past, sometimes the railroad tell them what day or days the train would go through, and they'd only have to have the guard out there that day. And other times and other places, not so much. So anyway, but the engineering costs, the design and bidding is handled under lump sum contract, $164,100. And then they do construction supervision. That one is an estimated amount based on how much supervision the contractor needs. So I discussed that with the engineer right after the bidding, and I think they put down $28,900 in the contract. That's purely an estimated amount. He thinks that with this contractor, they might want to go a little more than that. We might have to spend maybe $35,000 or so. But he'll play that by ear. The contractor with a low bid is Jake's Excavating and Landscaping LLC from Ironwood, Michigan. The engineer has worked with them before. He says they have good crews that do good work.
I think I've been told the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been told the opposite with them. So I guess that's my question. So does the engineer have the final say of accepting the bids, or do we have the final say of accepting the bids?
Under the laws, we're required to accept the lowest bid from a responsible contractor. And apparently they are considered a responsible contractor, which is why the engineer says that expect to spend more for engineering to supervise what's done out there than we'd otherwise spend. But yes, we're committed to spend the lowest bid unless we can show that they are not a responsible contractor.
So the engineer that was here, he has worked with these people previously?
Actually, he's retiring the end of this month, and his replacement is the one I was talking to, Jeff Siemendal.
That was one of the two guys. That was one of the two guys that were here, or
No, the other guy that was here was a technician.
okay.
But Jeff is a guy that's almost as much experience as Phil has.
And he's worked with this construction company before.
He's worked with them before. He says, expect to spend more than the estimated amount of $28,000 odd dollars
To supervise.
to supervise. Yeah.
So reading between the lines, that says they're not very good. that would be
Let me say, not as good as other contractors where they would have to spend less time out there supervising their work.
okay.
How's that?
You're telling me the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. My first reaction would be, how good is the second lowest bid contractor?
Who?
Haas.
Oz?
Yeah, Haas. And
So the information that I got today about this was, so there was a local contractor that was bidding on this same thing that had some computer issues, and their bid is in, but it is not on our form. So I was asked about that, and I said, I don't necessarily know how that goes as far as who chooses the bid, or if we have the final say, or if the engineer has the final say. Obviously, in all of that, we haven't had anything to do with that. That's why I asked those questions. I don't know exactly where their bid falls within the list of what's here, but
yeah, I do know that under the law, if somebody else came in at this point, and if we rejected all the bids and for any reason at all, change of scope, wanted to rebid the project, we'd have to rebid it absolutely from scratch with a change of scope. Because now everybody knows that everybody else bid.
yeah, right.
So
Yeah,
the
that's
law is
cheating.
written to prevent cheating.
Right.
As far as how it was handled, this it was handled through an outfit called Quest something.
Yep.
And they actually had a countdown clock. Bids will be opened at 2:00, and they had a countdown clock, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, the bids are all in, and we're now opening them. That's exactly how I see a head nodding in the back there. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. So when they say 2:00 on Tuesday, the 21st, they mean 2:00, 00 and 00 seconds by Greenwich Mean Time. You know, not Joe's watch. So anyway, we've got roughly $70,000 more to spend on roads this year than that we can spend on roads this year than we had originally figured on.
Not necessarily.
Well,
Unless,
Yeah, not necessarily.
yeah,
what's the difference between the low bidder and the next bid?
the low bidder to the next bid is $39,000. but we don't have a choice in that.
Well,
If they are deemed a responsible bidder,
I realize that.
yeah, we have no choice. So we'll be spending an extra, let's say $10,000 for, well, we won't be spending, but there'll be an extra roughly $10,000 for engineering services to keep a closer eye on them than they had originally figured on.
So we don't have final say on who we get to choose?
No, we do not.
So I have to close the bid.
Unless the engineer finds a reason to disqualify that bid, then they'd go with the second lowest.
It seems like it's an easy way for the engineering firm to get more money.
Well,
Free money.
Huh?
Free money.
Well, not free money.
They're gonna have to put more work in.
According to him.
yeah, anyway, so much for that. He hopes to have the final official bid officially to us by next week sometime.
When is the start date?
And that has not been set yet. But at that point, it will be up to us to approve it because the contract will be between us and the contracting firm. So we'll probably have to call a special town board meeting to approve that contract.
So we do have final say.
Yeah. Our
We do,
final
we
say
don't.
is, yes, we do the job, or no, we don't.
Don't.
But so,
Yeah.
so if they choose the contractor and we say we don't want to work with these guys, then it just all goes away? That doesn't make sense to me.
To redo it, all works, start from
Well-
square one.
I think that we should probably have the engineer in on the meeting when we have that meeting. What do you think?
To give us some input.
Well, it seems like we need to have a conversation with the engineer before that even happens.
He's evaluating the bids right now.
Okay.
But if one of us wants to, if we want to talk to the engineer, it has to be in a meeting, in open meeting.
Sure.
So it's probably best to do it at that meeting and recognize that we have the option of saying, nope, we're not going to do this.
Okay.
Okay, road crew report.
So we took the sanders and the wings off the trucks and the grader. And started sweeping the sand off the roads. Cut some trees on Little Chicago Road, some that were leaning towards the road, and mowed some brush there. We started cutting some of the high shoulders on, we did on Little Elk, South Wooster, and then the east side of Springs Drive. And then we, like I mentioned, we started cleaning up at the gravel pit, pulling a lot of the trees out for being able to crush gravel and then for screening sand.
Yeah, if I may interject there, parts of that gravel pit are high on sand and low on rock. So we asked for 1,000 yards of sifted sand. We're taking that from an area that's high in sand, low in rock, sift out the rock, and we'll crush that rock into road-based gravel. So they're taking 10,000 yards for road-based gravel from one area and 1,000 yards for sifted sand from a different area to make best use of the gravel pit.
Yeah,
Is there a timeline for that, for crushing?
I haven't heard anything officially yet,
Okay.
but I figured we'd get a start on it and make.
Yeah, right.
That way it's,
Yeah, we want our
Because-
part done.
yeah, and we're gonna try to take out as many of those trees as possible when they're,
Mhm.
handleable size, before they get too big. I lost my place here. And as was mentioned, we had that meeting with, Pete Hanisch and Jim Yanich. Just talking about the plow routes and getting input from Pete. And then we did rebuild the lift cylinder on the dump truck for the IH dump truck. And the rebuild kit was only $150. We did it ourselves, and just for the heck of it, we looked into what a new cylinder would cost. It was over $2,000. So with us doing it ourselves, we saved quite a bit of money. And then we had that wind. We cleaned up the trees from that. There was actually 2 or 3 of them down by on Salberg Road. And then there was a few on Fixed Landing Road. Yeah, there was quite a few there actually. So, and then transfer station, I think everything's going pretty good there. Mitch did run into a bit of a snag with the refrigerators, because he usually takes those down to that place in Medford. And what they've been working with us is when he brings the refrigerators down there, typically they'll just mark it down. And then when we bring the scrap steel bin there, they take that off of, use the scrap steel price to pay for the getting rid of the refrigerators. The last time he called down there, the girl at the desk didn't want to do that for him. So, and he had them all loaded up and ready to go. And so we needed the trailer, so we had to unload them. So he's working on that. Hopefully we can work out something where we can continue to do that. It's getting harder to find a place that will take refrigerators
Yeah, the reason,
because of the Freon in there.
the reason for that is under federal law, you cannot just cut the lines and vent out the old refrigerant. You have to hook it up to a reclaiming machine and reclaim the refrigerant out. And it has to be hooked up to the machine and confirm that you're doing that, even if you are absolutely convinced that it leaked out years ago.
Yeah.
But
They have to be certified.
yeah, and it has to be done by somebody who's certified with the right equipment. So that's a government, federal government law. It has to be done that way.
Yeah.
Which is why it costs money to get rid of refrigerators and before we can, even after the copper and steel.
Yeah. So I just figured I'd bring it up,
Yeah.
just so we're aware of it.
So you're working on it.
So we're not
Yeah.
all of a sudden surprised that, hey, we can't get rid of refrigerators and freezers.
Well, one way or the other, to be able to get rid of them, it's just what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, yeah,
You should talk to Jody at the hardware store because we have somebody that will take used appliances from us.
oh, really?
I don't know exactly what the deal is and if he takes refrigerators or freezers or whatever, but I know we have somebody
Okay,
that takes those. I mean,
okay,
hey, we get paid for like washers and dryers and stuff like that. I don't know what the deal is on fridges and freezers, but
okay,
it's at least a place to start if the junkyard isn't an option anymore.
okay. Can I tell her you put in a good word?
If you really want to, sure.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Okay, Red Pine subdivision. We've got final approval of the plot map. And I know we approved it once before, then the state approved it. And based on what the attorney told me, my understanding is we have to approve it again. And then we also have the amended declaration of restrictions and a resolution for sale of real estate and restrictions on lots. So I don't, So what we need here is a motion to approve the plot map, which is actually the same plot map as we saw earlier. It has not changed.
Okay. So what do we have to approve all this stuff now, or we
Yeah.
just have to approve the plot map?
We have to prove all this stuff. Because at the last meeting, the one where Russ couldn't make it, we had agreed on the amended declaration of restrictions.
Mhm.
So, and the original restrictions before we edited it were part of the plot, or part of the plot map. So we approved that, and then we approve the amended declaration of restrictions, which gets recorded with the plot map. I asked about changing it on the plot map, but if we did that, it would have to go back to the state for reapproval, which is another several month process.
Okay.
So what we're doing is saying that we made some changes to the restrictions, the covenants, after the original version was sent down to the state for approval. So we got several things to approve here.
But we only have approved plot maps on the agenda.
Well, this other stuff is part of that.
How is the resolution a part of the plot map?
Okay, well, if a poorly worded agenda, but we can put that on the agenda for when we do the bid for the Arup project.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it that way then.
I'll make a motion to approve the Red Pine subdivision, or, excuse me, I'll make a motion to table the Red Pine subdivision, approved plat maps and other, and covenants and resolution to the next month's or next meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
motion carried. So,
I went by there yesterday and I did not see any markings where the lots are. I mean, there's,
he has not staked it out yet. He has had, you notice they got the flags for the
right,
lines,
underground.
underground lines. Those have been in there since last fall.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, at the road review, we went through and we looked at a bunch of roads and we said we will have our discussion at this town board meeting. And discussion and decisions. So the first thing on there was the Seal Tech crack sealing they did last fall. Their workmanship is not acceptable. I talked to them and we got this by, actually had an email going back and forth. They looked at it and said, yes, they need to do some warranty work on it. And they said that they expect to get their crew together in May, but they did not commit to a specific date. But they definitely have some rework to do on almost all of the work they did. The unacceptable workmanship, a crack zigzags across the road. The guy with the router just went zip and usually got within 2 inches of the crack. Totally unacceptable. And last fall, you couldn't see it because they put just a thin layer of sealant over it, and it didn't show up until the road moved a little bit, and the sealant that was not routed cracked, and the routing that was not, where they routed and uncracked, that dipped down a little bit. You can now see where they routed and it wasn't cracked. And you also see where they didn't route the crack. So they have to redo that. They were trying to convince us we should spend a little bit more money to fill the cracks that showed up over the winter where they didn't seal at all. I says, no, we're not going to go along with that one. none of that
We got last
foolishness.
year's cracks to deal with. That's what I would have told
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. So anyway, we have it in writing that they are going to do it. So we have to decide what should we do for crack sealing this year. Up until about 3 years ago, our normal method of dealing with crack sealing was to deal with a company we'd been dealing with for years. They've since no longer working in this area, and say, give us just under $25,000 worth of crack sealing. You know what our roads do, the ones that need it the best, need it the most. And on my morning run down East Solberg, there's one place where you can see 3 separate bands of sealant over the same crack. And none of them are routed, by the way.
Well, that's what, they just did a blow and go, and that's what
Yeah.
Paul wanted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's not what we want.
right,
Yeah.
right. I mean,
We want something better than that.
we want it done
Yeah,
correctly.
well, in fact, Seal Tech was perfectly happy to quote both ways, blow and go and route and seal. And we had some discussion on that last year.
See, you won't, I don't think you'll get a company to come in and route over
Yeah.
one that's been blow and go.
Yeah.
Because it just, from experience, it gums up the machine like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, well, Seal Tech has some rework to do, and the fact that it gums up their machine is on them.
Yeah.
They did that one job on East Solberg. It was, I don't know, a couple 100 feet of crack, but I was on my morning run and their Seal Tech truck went by, and 15 minutes later, I showed up at the job site and they were just pulling out. I mean, they did that whole job in 10 minutes. And it was the first one I saw that was not acceptable. So I went down and I looked at 013, and the first crack I looked at was just as unacceptable. So at that point, I raised the flag and asked Neil to look at all of them. And I think he said we had, 6 or 8 roads, and out of those, one was done right.
Sort of, yeah.
Well, the bridge deck was good.
Yeah. So anyway, and we had 2 bidders on that job, and the other bid was quite a bit higher than Seal Tech. I forget the exact numbers, but probably about 30% higher.
Well, it was 19,000 versus 14,000.
Yeah, or more than that, half again as much. Of course, we were bidding, we sent out for bids kind of late in the year. We're trying to be early this year. But we had exactly 2 companies bid on it. What do we want to do this year? Crack sealing is, if you do it early enough, is the most cost-effective blacktop road maintenance there is. You get more road life for the dollar spent with crack sealing if you do it soon enough and do a good enough job. So in the WISDOT manual on blacktop roads, they say you do it very early on, and but not after that. So our options are we can go out, we can make a list of roads we want crack sealed and ask for bids now. We can do that after Seal Tech cleans up their mess. We can
We
ask.
shouldn't, we shouldn't be waiting for them because they might not get here until June. And then we're
The
kicking
same
the can down the road again further.
That's the same problem.
So I think we should get it in the paper as soon as possible.
Okay.
Wanted crack sealing bids for the town of Worcester. See, and we'll put together the road list and the specs, and they can come in and get what we've got, and we'll go from there.
So Neil, you and I can put together a list of roads, and then I'll have Regina put the ads out. And just get the process rolling. Okay. We've got verbal approval for a town road improvement grant for, I think it's $25,886. We have not yet got the SMA, state and municipal agreement for it. We have to have that in our hands before we do anything. But that pays up to 50% and a maximum of $26,000. So we're basically, and it pays for blacktopping or a blacktop job. So really what we're looking for is about a $55,000 blacktop job. Is now, let's see here. Did I send that list around? I thought I did.
The list of roads that were short.
Our 5-year plan. Yeah, here, 5-year road plan. So at the road review meeting, we started off by saying, here's some short dead-end gravel and chip seal roads with multiple residences that would fit that criteria. Bayview Lane, Cottage Grove Lane, Tioga Pass Road, Mintal Road, and Pine Tree Lane. And then in the course of discussing, looking at some of these, somebody said, I forget who, one of you two, said, well, wait a minute, why don't we do a short blacktop road instead? It's already blacktop. So I made a list of blacktop roads less than half a mile long and with a Payzer rating of less than or equal to 4, and 4 is pretty bad. And that would be Dardis Lake Lane from the boat landing to H, Hemlock Lane, Hicks Landing Road up to Trailer Lane, Hilly Haven Lane, Maple Grove Road, East Solberg from Hills Road to Hemlock Lane is half a mile. East Solberg from Hemlock to Solberg Dam Road is a half a mile. That one stretch is nicely bumpy. Storms Road, Dama to Rasky, and Storms Road, Rasky to County W. Each of those are a half a mile. And I also had a talk with Preston from American Asphalt, and if grind up right now and replace 22-foot wide, 3 inches thick, it's about, what did he say, $170,000 a mile. We could save the grinding up if we do an overlay, and that would get it down to about roughly $155,000 or $60,000 a mile. So half a mile would be about $85,000, and a quarter mile would be about $45,000. Keep in mind, we cannot go ahead with it until we get that SMA. And the 2 key people at the WSDOT department that handles that left their job. And SMAs are not coming through right now. And we have to do it this year. We cannot push it out till next year.
But wasn't that grant was applied for Cottage Grove, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, Cottage Grove. But our discussion at the time was, geez, what one do we really want to do? Well, Cottage Grove, let's put down Cottage Grove because we can always change it later on.
Is there any timeline when they're going to grant the grants? Does anybody down there know?
Nobody knows. This was discussed at the Wisconsin Towns Association meeting, and the Towns Association does not know. All they know is that things are not coming through. 2 key people have left. And this is a state thing, not a federal thing. So it's a state of Wisconsin thing.
Well, with the trouble we had with the subdivision, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty.
So, all we can really do is, put it on hold for right now and, keep our ears peeled.
What's happening with continuing that road? Was it Tioga Pass?
Okay, yeah, another one is what we had discussed. Tioga Pass Road stops, when you drive down it and go on the turnaround, it's a dead end road. The turnaround is about 50 feet from Point Lane. Our plow guys would just love it if we continue that road through to Point Lane. It would eliminate a turnaround. And it would eliminate a turnaround in the yard of a guy that doesn't like the turnaround. I did bounce this off the attorney, and he said that the road actually ends a little before that concrete driveway of the guy that is unhappy about it. And there is nothing in the deeds that would stop us from running it through. And there's also nothing in the deeds that said it ever was through. So what we could do there is dig it out and put in a gravel road, a stretch of gravel road. All we need to do ahead of time is get easements from 2 property owners.
Is he one of them?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I would suggest here is that what we can do is just put together a nice letter, send it to the property owners and saying the town of Worcester would like to eliminate this turnaround by continuing this road through to Point Lane. The exact location of the road we would discuss with you guys if you're interested, because as long as it goes through and doesn't bend too sharp, we're good, right? Yeah. And then there's some culverts there that need to be replaced. So we're going to be doing some digging in that area anyway.
I think there's one tree that should come out of there probably too.
Yeah, that's all part of the discussion. But if we want to do this, it's just a matter of saying, okay, let's do it. And if they're willing to assign easements, I think the town should pick up the cost of those easements, the legal fees and whatnot.
Depends on what that cost is.
Well, it's hour or 2 of attorney time.
Sure, but
Well,
As it has-
let's approach the property owners first before we have,
Yeah.
get all excited about something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, if they say no, it's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
so
If they say yes, we go out there, agree on a route, and then we decide if we're going to do it. But the guys say that that it's just a matter of scooping out some topsoil and bringing in some gravel that we've got and packing it down.
Yeah.
And replacing a couple of culverts.
Yeah. Well, regardless, we're gonna have to replace them culverts anyway in that road.
So
So
the culverts-
regardless, if we do that, extend that turnaround, we're still gonna have to do them culverts anyway.
We just need a decision on that to know if they do that as part of extending the turnaround or if we just go ahead and do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
how do we, if we make that road go straight through, how do we then consider that that's a town road and that we have to maintain it? Isn't there something that needs to get put into place with the state or something that says we have another realistically 1/10 of a mile of road?
yes, that's a matter of updating the Whistler database. Yeah, I have access into it. And as far as something like this, I have an email address. I just tell them what we did. And it's up, if they want it officially surveyed, it's up to them to do it. Otherwise, we just run through with a wheel and tell them how much we added to the road.
They just take our word for it?
I don't think so. I think they want to come out and survey it.
Well, then
That-
I'm sure there's some cost to that.
Yeah.
That's something that we have to get figured out.
didn't that road show that it went through there?
No, it shows on a map that it looks like it goes through, but it does not.
Depends
In
on
the
what the scale
in the
is of
Whistler
that.
database, it does not. It says it terminates at so many feet from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So the state thinks, in the state database, Whistler, Wisconsin Information System for Local Roads. The Whistler database says it does not go through.
So it'd be from that concrete all the way to Rolling Point Road,
Point Lane, yeah.
you know?
Well, it'd be over the concrete. The concrete would be part of where the now road would be.
Yeah.
Because the lot line is where that concrete starts.
Yeah,
It cuts, his lot goes straight across and everything that we turn around is on that guy's
Yeah.
property.
But all we really would be committing to right now is asking the property owners if they're interested. And if they are, can they agree on a route? And would they be willing to sign easements? All that would be verbal. At that point, we take it back to the board and say, do we want to do this?
Yeah.
Seems like this is something we need to have a motion for.
Well, we're not motioning to spend any money just yet.
we're just inquiring.
Yeah, but if you want a motion, we can do that, certainly.
It's not on here.
Well, I don't see that we need a motion to just go ahead and write a couple of letters and ask people if they're interested.
Okay.
Chip seal. Chip sealing a blacktop road while it's still in good condition is a definite life extender and very cost effective. If it's done early enough before the road breaks up. It's done typically a few years after crack sealing. And of course, some of our roads, it kind of presupposes that the road is thick enough to stand up anyway. But it is a good thing to do for cost-effective blacktop roads. We'd be putting some money into roads that are still in pretty good condition to keep them good longer. I got some numbers on that in the town blog on exactly how the costs work out. Or budget numbers, actually. They're not hard numbers.
Has anybody contacted Scott or whoever does this, or Pitlick and Wick?
I talked to Scott last year. A single chip seal, which is what we would want for this, is in budget numbers, $20,000 a mile.
Is it possible, if the salesman would come and go over the roads that we feel that are,
Well, they would have to bid it.
well, right, I understand that, but if he comes along and says, hey, this is a good candidate, or I don't believe this is a good candidate, give us some direction.
Yeah, and I'm not real happy with the guy on that sort of thing, because he was trying to sell me on double chip sealing a road that was all broken up, and that one is not cost effective. It adds a little to the life, but not enough to justify the cost of the chip sealing.
Well,
So I'm more willing to go with what WisDOT says in their blacktop road Pazer manual.
it's just like when you go to buy a car,
Yeah,
you're trying to add on all the time,
right.
and that's what this guy was doing.
That's exactly what he was doing. And if we allowed him, he would chip seal every road we've got, whether it deserves it or not. He'd be happy to chip seal a Springs Drive here, a road that's already falling apart.
So what are you proposing? We go look at some roads and
Well,
request bids for the ones that we think are correct, or what?
what I would propose here is that Neil and I go out and with the Pazer manual in one hand and look for roads that best fit the criteria of benefiting from chip sealing, guesstimate how much take a look at our budget with these new numbers for the Eric project and say, how much can we afford to spend on crack sealing and chip sealing combined? And then prepare a road list for crack sealing, a road list for chip sealing, then we can send that out for bids.
I don't think we can take that $70,000 and go spend it before we know that that's the way that that's going to be. Because if we end up having some big areas that they dig a whole bunch out,
No, I don't think
We
we
can-
should put $70,000 in our budget.
well, I don't think we should put any of it in the budget. I
No,
think
I
we
think we
should
could-
wait until that project's done, and then if we don't spend it, then we can use it for something next year. It's not like it's going to magically disappear at December 31st.
Well, we had, I think in the budget, we had figured $100,000 for crack sealing and chip
Sure.
sealing this year.
So there's some money there to
There's-
do it with that, but
We can do-
I wouldn't touch that 70,000.
No, I wouldn't say go over the 100,000. I'd
No.
say that's adequate for what we get our feet wet first before we go and dive in.
Well, okay, that we can do. So what we'd be looking for, Neil, is you've seen the Pazer manual and where they say chip seal here and crack seal here. So we need to go out and look for roads that fit those criteria. And knowing, we have a rough feel for what crack sealing costs when we bid it out and what chip sealing costs. So we'll just figure out enough road to use up $100,000 and then we can bid that out and see how the bids come in.
Okay.
We should be able to, do we need a motion to actually publish bids or?
No.
Okay, so we can just go ahead, once we get that, we can go ahead and have Regina put out
There's
the
no
bids.
contract, yeah.
Because we're not committed to spending money, we're not committed to accepting any bid, we can reject all bids if we so desire. Okay, so, crack, seal,
Well, when you
Chip
go for the
seal.
roads for chip seal, you're gonna have to measure how wide they are. That's
Right.
gonna have to be on,
right,
because they're gonna wanna know
Right.
an exact length.
yeah. So anyway, Neil and I will put together a list, we'll publish some bids for both of those, and then we'll see how those numbers come in. Okay, is that sufficiently cover what we saw in the road review?
Pretty much.
All right, so that gets us to, let's see. And resolutions. Okay, so we got the voucher list.
The road share. What section is that for town of Emery? We paid them, so is that for out by Musser, Neil?
Was that?
The road share paid to town of Emery.
It is 0.42 miles of Barron Road, 0.09 miles of South Shore Road.
Says that's out by Musser.
Yeah, that's off of Muscle
Yeah.
Drive, yeah.
Okay, and that would be basically that mile's worth of the
Yep.
state road aid.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Good for me.
I make a motion to approve the April voucher list, starting with check number 17894 through 17920 with an ACH to Align Financial for $2,207.08 for a total of $39,402.24.
I'll second that. All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed? No. Motion carried. Okay, public comment. Questions, town related? Marianne?
What is the name of the firm that you get to audit the books? The financial? Do you change from, you don't stick with the same ones all the time, do you?
We were using Eagle Audit. They sold out their business to a new firm. Let me see if that is- Clearfield Auditing and Consulting.
Don't you think it's wise to go to different ones in case they're not catching something?
If you go with the same firm, they have the previous year's information.
Right,
You go with a new firm, you spend extra money to get them up to speed with your organization.
but what if they're not as thorough as they could be?
Then they are in serious trouble with the state board that regulates accountants.
Yeah, I realize that, but who would report them?
Yeah.
Is the state gonna find it on its own? I don't understand that part.
Well,
It just seems like we've always gone with the same.
Yeah.
And are they really looking into things well?
you, don't they give you a list of stuff you have to come up with to, before they do the audit?
Yeah, there's a long list that we provide to them, bank accounts, all financials. I mean, that's what their job is. They're auditors, so I think they're professionals. On top of that, we have a separate CPA that does our financial report for the state. So between those two together, I mean, it would be.
So there's some overlap and some cross-checking there, between two outside firms.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think we'd hate to see the same thing happen as out in Rambo. Actually, I'd like it to happen.
Okay, anybody, other comments, questions? Chuck, you're a member of the town. Okay, a motion to adjourn is then in order.
make a motion to adjourn at 7:57.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 7:57.